about truth and why it's so important to search for truth. Because if you want to get anything right, you need truth. That's the bottom line. If you don't have truth, then you're living a lie. And so the logic, you won't have logic because there won't be logic. For all those people that have followed the advice of the medical experts over the last 2 years, has any of their logic made any sense? No. So then what do you have to resort to? Well, if what they're saying really doesn't make any sense, I'll just do what they tell me to do. You know. So I'll walk into this store and I'll shop in this store because outside they have a sign that says Walmart, but this other store I can't shop in because it's owned by a local guy and it's a smaller store, even though there's less people walking in that store per square foot than in this other bigger store. I'm not allowed to shop in that small. So there's no logic anymore. So when there's no logic, what do you have to resort to? You have to resort to their signals, right? You have to turn on the radio and say, oh, right now the chief medical officer says the RSI is at 40 and it's now okay to buy. The chief medical officer says now it's okay to take off your masks. So it's the same concept. It's the same idea. So when price is up here, you have to understand that there was a plan to push price down. Were they going to require a trend line for some reason, for some purpose? Were they wanting to put a trend line there or not? And if not, why not? Because many times when price moves, there looks like there's a trend line, but there really isn't. We've talked about that numerous times. And in the future, I'm going to be coming out with new video lessons to explain things a little bit deeper because there's a lot of stuff about trend lines that is just quite amazing. Whenever I'm looking at price, I'm always, always, always trying to figure it out. It's all I do. I look at price and figure it out. Why did it do that? Is it in the trend now? Why wouldn't it be in the trend now? Why would that be consolidation? Is it consolidation? And then I make my notes. Sometimes I test what I think I know to be true. Sometimes I test what I think I know to be true. Oh, you think so? You think that is consolidation? All right. Well, let's make a note of that. You think it's in consolidation. Let's just imagine it being in ranging. If it was in ranging, how would you expect it to move? Well, I would expect it to move this way. Okay. So now let's view the chart and price action for the coming weeks and see how it moves. And just test to see if what you know to be true is right. And sometimes, I'm hoping that I'm wrong because I still feel like there's more to learn about those scenarios. So I want to be wrong so I can see what it was that I was wrong about, so I can study it, so it becomes something that I know to be true, So, and then when I'm, many times when I'm found to be right, it's like a nice pat on the back. It's like, well, listen, you've done a good job in your analysis. You did a good job in determining, the scenario that's playing out in the chart. So good for you. And it's great. It's a great feeling. Don't get me wrong, but the more I've come to learn about the markets, the more I know that there's a lot more to know. You know, there's a lot more to know. And so, like this week, I was going through my journal. I swear I could just, I could hire, 6 people to keep things busy on my end here. But there's just so much. Because honestly, I could make it a full-time job just going through my journal and studying charts and studying situations and journaling every day. I could make it a full-time job and I would love it. I would love it because this is the type of stuff that I love. So I have a very beautiful journal right next to me. And it's filled. Here, let me flip the pages. Okay. Can you hear that? It's just filled and filled with notes. And it's a beautiful leather-bound journal. Cost me a lot of money, but I went into the store. I said, no, I want to have a very beautiful journal. I want it to cost me a lot of money because I want it to be extremely precious to me, because this is extremely precious to me. These notes are, my life's work. This is what I've been working on. This is my life. And I make so many notes, things that I observe, price action that I've noticed, interesting things. Things come to me in just the weirdest moments. A lot of times in bed, I'll be lying in bed and I'll be thinking through a scenario, and I'll be like, oh boy, I never thought about that. Damn it, I gotta go. And just recently, I was thinking about another scenario. Just recently, I was thinking, oh yeah, about the trend lines. I was thinking about it, and I'm like, why is it? It's one thing, for me to, I make observations, right? I tell you what I observe. And one thing that I've been sharing with you a lot is how when price makes a big drop and a point and then a new low, what do I say? Be careful with drawing the trend line. Like that. Be careful. And I give you the reasons why you should be careful, because these are things that I observe. I observe that when I draw these trend lines like this, the vast majority of time, the price action, when it gets back to those trend lines, doesn't look right. And I know what right looks like and what wrong looks like. So I'll make those observations. I'll be like, that's interesting. That didn't look right the way that price came up to it. And I'll look for what's the common denominator in all these scenarios when price comes up to those areas. What's the common denominator? Common denominator is the big drop in price or the big extended move, and drawing the trend line connecting to those top areas. And I'll be like, interesting. Okay, so make a note of that. Be careful drawing those trend lines. So then I pass on that information to you, because these are my observations. These are things that stick out to me through my chart work. But for me, that's never enough, because then I'm just no better than your conventional trader who's using the conventional wisdom of, when you see this type of chart pattern, you draw a trend line. Okay, I don't want to just find patterns and say, oh, it's that pattern again, don't do it. If I just leave it at that, there could be 5, 6, 7, 8 things that I'm not going to ever discover, because the logic required to discover those things are hidden within realizing why this is what it is. Okay, so there's logic behind why this doesn't work when you have big drops like this. There's logic behind it. If I don't dig and think about it, I won't discover the logic. And if I don't have that logic, there could be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things down the road that I'm not going to discover because that logic is not there. So my job is to, study charts, locate indiscrepancies. Okay, this goes back to what I was writing in my article this past week. Did you guys get a chance to read it?